Hey everyone, I'm pleased to announce the launch of my book, Free Trials and Tribulations, which is available now on Amazon. So writing a book has been a dream of mine ever since I was quite young. I actually, for a school project in grade 6, you had to interview an adult who does for a living what you want to do when you grow up. And I interviewed a local author named Leslie Choice, who was kind enough to come down to Joseph Giles Elementary and take questions from an 11-year-old. And ever since then, I've always had the dream of being an author and writing a book. So I struggled for a long time with what I wanted to write about. And after 2016, when a Time article came out about some of the struggles that I had running a business and growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, it garnered some attention, and it always seems to be the topic of interest when I'm speaking or when I'm talking to people about my entrepreneurial journey. So I thought it would make a good subject for a book, and so I wanted to write a book that was somewhat of a personal memoir, especially from the last 10 to 15 years. And also mixing that with a business book that has tactical and strategic lessons that I learned along the way. So here's what the process looked like for writing my book, Free Trials and Tribulations. For a long time, I really struggled with it, and I faced the same challenge probably a lot of aspiring authors have, which is staring at a blank Google Doc or Word document, staring at that blinking cursor and really not knowing how to move forward with it. But eventually I actually stumbled upon a really cool company that's called Book in a Box, and it's actually been renamed to Scribe. So I was reached out to by Tucker Max, who a lot of you may know as being a New York Times bestselling author, and he wanted to talk about Proposify as they are customers of ours. But through that process, I learned about what was called Book in a Box, and what they really do is help people like myself who have ideas and want to get them across and put them in a book form but aren't experienced authors. And they guide you through the entire process from beginning to end, from outlining your book to writing it, designing the cover, and then later helping you launch and market it to the world. So to start with, they introduce you to your publishing manager. So mine is named Ellie Cole, and they're a remote company, so they're distributed over a lot of different parts of the U.S. Ellie's based out of Hawaii, so I first got on a call with Ellie, and she was essentially the person that would be with me the entire process. It was actually also really cool that JT, who's the acting CEO, got on that first call with me for a few minutes just to say hello and welcome me, which I thought was a great customer success tip for all you people out there. If you're running a company and you have customer success people and you're the founder, is try to get on a call with your new clients when they come in the door. It's a great way to get warmed up to the company. But Ellie ran the process from there. She introduced me to my outliner, who's named Carla. And Carla really worked with me to get the basic skeleton in place for what is this book going to be about, how is it going to be structured, what are the key ideas and the key thoughts, and how should they be organized. That took place over several phone calls, I think 3 or 4 different phone calls that were each about 2 or 3 hours in length. So prepared to spend a lot of time on the phone if you partake of Scribe services. You're really, most of your ideas you're presenting orally over the phone, and that's how they get the ideas out of your head. And what they actually do is they record you when you're talking, get it transcribed, and then later on when you're working with your scribe, mine was named Sheila, she interviewed me based on the outline. So she would actually ask me questions from the outline, get me to talk, and then they would transcribe it and she would rewrite it into proper book prose. So some people might wonder, was it really my words? Did I actually write it? I would say yes. So first of all, one of the first things that they ask you about the book is who you kind of want to sound like, or who do you think represents your voice? So you can point them to different authors that you like and you respect and say, I kind of want to get the tone of, for instance, I used Mike Montero, who's not an author, but he writes blog posts. He has kind of a witty, slightly cantankerous vibe in his blog posts. And I really kind of like that, and I try to insert a little bit of that humor into the posts. Now, I mean, it's always hard for somebody to represent your voice the way you think it is, and so that all came through the editing process. So what Sheila put forth ended up being edited several times. And so I would take the content that she wrote, and parts of it I would leave, other parts I would completely rewrite or add entire new sections, and then we would just go through and edit it and clean it up and make sure that it flowed really nicely. So I feel like the book that was written completely are my words and my thoughts and my ideas, and that's a big part of what Scribe tries to do, is never to insert their own ideas into your book. So if you read my book, I think you'll find that it's very personal and very authentic in a way that I'm really opening up and saying a lot of things that most people would be embarrassed to say to the public. It tends to be the way I write anyway. I try to not pull any punches or sugarcoat things. I try to be as honest as I possibly can without getting people in trouble or hurting feelings. But I think with this book, I tried to even go deeper and a little bit more raw. And so some of the people that I talk about, I will say by first name basis. I won't make it obvious who it is. Some of the things aren't always flattering to them. Some of them things I say aren't flattering for myself. But I really thought, you can't write a book like this that's a personal memoir without talking about any of the ugly details or the things that you're ashamed of. I think what that does is it just adds relatability to the story. And I think if you're writing anything and you're not afraid to hit the publish button, then maybe you're not being authentic enough and you're not being honest enough. So that's something I try to do in my blog articles is, something that I'm actually afraid to publish is probably means it's really good. And I took that approach probably 10 times with the book and got even more deep and more personal. So to give you a quick idea of what Free Trials and Tribulations is about, it's split into 3 parts. So the first part, and I tried to mirror the classic creation mythology. So part 1 is creation, the middle part is destruction, and the last part is rebirth. And that's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek nod to my religious upbringing, which I touch on quite a bit in the book. So growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't think that I would be where I am today. I thought I would always be a Jehovah's Witness, and in fact didn't even really think I would live in this world as we know it, which I know sounds a little crazy, but that's part of the belief system growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And at some point in my mid-20s, I went through a really powerful transformation. I woke up and realized that I didn't agree with the religion's teachings, and I left, and it caused a lot of fallout with my family. It really changed who I am as a person and what I believe, and all this was going on while I was building my first business, Headspace, the web design agency. So essentially, I dig into the worst 2 years of my life where I lost my father, who died. I realized I was living in a cult and escaped and got shunned by my community, suffered financial ruin and near bankruptcy. And so all these crazy things were happening while I was also facing a failing business, and somehow managed to climb out of that through some great people in my life who I talk about in the book, one of whom is Kevin, who's my business partner. And out of that, we spun out the company Proposify. And so it's basically that journey of going from extreme hardship, extreme tribulations to having a successful company and an amazing life now. And I hope that it's inspirational for other entrepreneurs, especially who are going through their own trials and tribulations, to realize that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm incredibly proud of the finished product. I think Scribe did an incredible job of helping me take my vision and my ideas for a book and bring it to life. I'm really excited about it, and I hope everybody else finds it to be as enjoyable to read as I found it to write. Free Trials and Tribulations is available on Amazon for purchase in either an ebook form or in a printed copy. So I hope you guys check it out and order your copy.
This episode of Lifetime Value is brought to you by Proposify. Proposify improves sales productivity so your team spends less time creating proposals and more time selling. Start your free trial at proposify.com and be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a single episode.